Welcome to the Pulse of Spokane. Kent Adams here, and I'm really kind of excited about today's guest and today's topic. And I first met Bruce Teague, head of the entrepreneurial department, and I don't know, your list is about 3 feet long on a resume. A couple of months ago when he was in here for our EWU program, and we talked about some successes happening with that program, and one of his students who is here, Lloyd Dees, is here to talk about that. And I'm going to learn a lot, and so will you. What's most impressive is what Eastern and our environment here in Spokane is doing to really promote entrepreneurship. Try to say that 3 times in a row, or even spell it. Spellcheck, fortunately, knows enough now to correct me. But we're going to have some fun today, and I hope you'll stay tuned.
When you donate your vehicle to the Union Gospel Mission, you're not just giving a car. You taught your kids to drive in this car. You sent your first kid off to college. You brought your baby home. This car isn't just transportation. It's a piece of your history. Keep the good memories going. When you donate, you're providing food, shelter, and the opportunity for a whole new life.
Welcome back. I think most of you, or many of you, have met Bruce Teague, doctor. We got to give you credit, especially since the First Lady now is called doctor. So I guess I need to salute and all of that. But gosh, I wasn't kidding when I said your list of things that you do out at Eastern is very impressive. And I'm impressed with you because you care so much about your students and so forth. And we'll ask Lloyd, is he good?
He is absolutely fantastic. I've never met a man of great reputation.
Okay, you can pay him now. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, we sat on a longer table on those days about 3 months ago. I think 2 or 3 months ago. Again, trying to keep the COVID thing as far apart from all of us as possible. But I just sat there going, my gosh, these students are so damn lucky to have someone who's just pushing, and that's what it takes, doesn't it, to ignite that fire in the belly, right?
Very, very much so. I mean, this has been as much an entrepreneurial experience as starting my business was.
Right.
And it's all of those little bumps in the road that you've got to find your way
Oh,
around.
yes.
And you've got to have a flexible vision of where the end of that process
I'm not laughing at you. I'm
is.
laughing with you. Okay.
And that's one of the reasons I was so excited to introduce Lloyd, because Lloyd really is representative of where that vision was, in the sense that he's not a business student. In fact, neither of the two members of his company are business students.
Really?
And our focus, as you know, was on bringing entrepreneurship to the campus, because anybody can have a great idea.
Right.
And it's not that we don't want to support our business students. We love them.
Right.
But we wanted to bring
But it goes
everybody
beyond
in.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lloyd is a great example of that.
Yeah. Lloyd, I got to ask, because I know one thing about you, and that is I think you're also the student body president out there, aren't you? I mean, how many hats do you wear?
As many as I need to get where I want to be.
I love it. Okay, so some of the fire in the belly to start something new, which you did, came from learning from Bruce. What was it? What is it? Give us some background.
So I guess actually going back to the beginning of what do you want to know, I guess, specifically?
Well, I don't even know what the company is.
Oh,
I mean, start with what the company is. What do you build or sell? Where did the idea come from?
So let me jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Lloyd has actually gone through 2 waves of this process, so this has been evolving. What I would suggest is, why don't you tell them about Green Filter Guys, and and kind of where the origin of that was and how you've gotten to where you are now.
Yeah, so the origin of Green Filter Guys is that we were actually in a technology commercialization academy at Eastern. It was that, as the name implies, to help commercialize the technology and actually build business around it. It was a lot more intense than I was expecting, actually. I didn't know it was going to be anywhere that
You had to work at it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it was actually a lot more intense.
Did you go into that thinking this will be an easy class?
A little bit.
Yeah,
I thought so.
We've all had those, okay?
Yeah.
And but sometimes it ignites the fire in the belly, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we were it was a completely new process for me and for my co-founder, because what we did was we were going through a catalog listing that universities create IPs, intellectual property, and new technologies to help that are innovative and solutions to same problems. So we actually came across a green filter technology that did a really good job at filtering out things, and it was revolutionary in what it did and how it works. So from doing finding the technology, we built a business of like a filter tip that goes on the end of joints and cigarettes from that piece of technology. And then from there, we started doing a lot of market tests. We did over 100 field tests actually in the greater Spokane area. That was a lot of legwork because we had to make a prototype, then go talk to dispensaries. And watch. It was a very intense program. And as time went on, we found that there was actual real market need and want, because we found the pain point for the customer, what the customers actually wanted. And through that, I found out that it takes a long time to bring a product to market, no matter how many resources you have.
I got to ask this because we've all had it. I've had it a couple times with this company, okay? How many times did you go, what the heck did I get into?
Actually, yeah, many times this week even.
Okay, well, you're being real. Okay, yeah.
Negotiations for everything is a lot more. I've never done it before.
Yeah.
Dealing with different regulatory bodies and states and governments.
Yeah.
And then how do you actually, do market penetration, lowest barrier to entries, and how do you prime the pump? I'm not talking to you about that. How do you get the customers to actually test your product out at a rate that they would want and show where it can scale? I've
got to ask this question because a lot of young people are talking about, well, let's regulate everything, and you know what I mean? You've learned a little bit about that, haven't you? Are you a little more open-minded now that what regulation can do to businesses?
It's really, really interesting. Because I see what the I don't even know how to answer that question.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't make laws or anything. That you have to make the law where everybody's safe, but you can make innovation solutions to problems. So, and that's a very interesting line I'm about to cross now.
Well, and this week, you were just involved in negotiating the final license on the patent with Wazoo, right?
Yeah,
so a whole learning experience there.
Oh, my. Oh, boy.
It was a long negotiation.
Did you sit down with attorneys and things like that?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. Was that fun?
It was exactly what everyone described it would be.
Oh,
Actually,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Attorneys are.
You don't look like you were beat up too much.
No. Actually, this is where I think Bruce has a lot of clout. I think in a lot of areas, and
I have a lot of friends.
Yeah, he has a lot of friends. And I think, if I'm with Bruce, they'd be nicer to me. I think that was a lot of what goes on. Actually.
But I have to say, we have so much support from this community.
Yes.
And that means that oftentimes I can reach out and ask somebody, I've got a student, he's just got a quick question, he can't afford, an hour of billable time, but would you take a minute to just answer this? And they've been so generous.
I'll bet you've never been turned down.
No.
Okay. That's this community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I've said it many times, and I think we've talked about this before, trying to do that in a Los Angeles or New York City or something like that. I don't know everybody in town, but I can get to anybody in town. Okay, because if I don't know them, you do. You might know them. Somehow we can get to people, and even your most earnest competitor will sit down with you. I've seen, and again, we talked about this, I've seen restaurants help other upstart restaurants and so forth, who are going to be their competition, but not really. Help to, well, here's what we learned, don't do this. It took us an extra couple months to get started to open up because we went this route. Here's something we did. Figure out the best for your particular firm. And that's what I love about this. It's a metropolitan area, Lloyd, but it's also a town. And it goes to WSU. It goes to Coeur d'Alene. It goes to all around that we can ask people and they step up.
Well, and it goes to the universities as well.
Yes.
I mean, we all work together and collaborate.
Yeah.
Marie Mays down at Wazoo, Ryan over at NIC. I mean, Dan.
Yes.
These universities that you would kind of assume are so competitive with each other collaborate and work together in ways that I couldn't possibly describe.
I was talking with somebody the other day who's literally taken the upstairs of his office building, had it repainted, and he's got a fellow he's talking to in Canada that cannot get what they need up there in terms of the leadership, the digital marketing aspect, and all of that. And so while they invented it up there and so forth, it's actually going to operate here. What that's going to be is a couple of jobs for Spokane folks, you know. And how fortunate are we? Lloyd, I have to tell you, back when my kids were in junior high, my son, who's now the fireman out at Fairchild and so forth, told me, Dad, I think I'm going to, when I finish high school and so forth, I'm going to have to go to Seattle or somewhere like that. That was kind of for a generation there. There's nothing for us here in Spokane. There is now, because good things are happening. You look at the U District downtown, and you look at on campus out at Cheney, you look at WSU, both locations, and all of that. Well, they've got several locations. I mean, you start looking at that, and the cooperation that is going on is really fantastic. And so you're feeling the love out there, aren't you?
Yeah, it's actually been like phenomenal. The entrepreneurial community's overall community support in the entire Spokane area, honestly.
Now, have you had to raise money yet?
No, actually, luckily our product we've been able to actually launch. We're going to be able to launch without needing to raise capital. We probably won't raise capital maybe for 9 to 12 months.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice, because sometimes that's the toughest, is to line up the way those who are going to write the check to you. You know, have you dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's for their particular point? But if you got something that's going to start selling, it makes it easier. Yeah. Try launching after a half century or more. Compete a station like ours that's on the internet compared to broadcast. Okay, everyone, when we first started out, you'll get a kick out of this. I grew up in the 50s and 60s, okay, long before your time. I know that. Okay. I grew up in Los Angeles where we had 4 or 5 TV stations. That was not what we had in Spokane, you know, and and it was, of course, standard def and black and white back in my days, and finally color came and so forth. And when we first started out, people would go, "Oh, you're not on TV," meaning broadcast. Okay, do you know where broadcast TV is today? In Spokane, the viewership is half what it was 15 years ago. And the numbers that we have now are almost in second place in terms of, if you compare us to the news. Now, we're not a news station per se, doing like you would see tonight and so forth. But literally, where are people today? They're on the internet. Okay? So it's adapting, which I think my friends who have known me for a while tease me, because at your age, you came up with something new. I mean, you know, and I've had to have guys like Sam and others in our that are the under the 30 crowd say, "Kent, that's old style. Get with it." And even my friends are gone. How have you figured this out at your age? Well, I have younger people who say, "Kent, it doesn't need to be this, or it needs to look different." Our new set, compared to last time, we were sitting at a table, right? The traditional table. Now we have this set. We have a couple more. We have a full green screen that we use, that we can be anywhere. We shot a program over there in front of the black screen the other day with our sheriff and one of his deputies and so forth. And we do a lot of things out on campus and other places when we can be out and so forth. Welcome to today. Okay.
Well, and that's one of the things, I don't remember whether we talked about this when I was telling you about Kent.
Yeah.
But obviously he has his own entrepreneurial journey that he's been on.
Yeah.
So that's part of the joy of talking to him in this environment.
And there have been times that when I ask you, have there been times that you just go, "Why am I doing this?" There have been times until really the last month or two that we've just taken off. Local stations, the traditional broadcast station, lost about 40 to 42% of their revenues during the start of COVID. We did not lose one sponsor, and we've gained several. Some of them didn't come on for a couple of months because they couldn't service people out in the community and so forth. But we were able to adapt and hold on. We did remote for a couple of months so everybody could come in and we could still do shows. We're able to pivot a lot easier than traditional broadcast, who will have a 5 o'clock news show tonight at 5. You can guarantee that, right? We can tape programs all day long and put them out when we want. And people aren't, our big audience is not when we first put it out, it's within the 5 to 7 days after. And many of them are outdoing by 50 to 100% more than the #1 news station in Spokane. And so I've had to learn a lot at my old age. So just know that you will be on this journey for a long time, because once you've got it started, you'll go, okay, what's next?
Well,
and that's the fun.
Lloyd knows this, and you and I have talked
Yeah.
about it before, but you talk about those moments where, what have I gotten myself into? Should I keep going?
Yes.
And this was one of the things I had to discover and develop as we were building the program in the center at Eastern Washington. But a lot of the focus is not just on which courses do you put together. It is, how do we eliminate barriers? How do we eliminate those obstacles that bring you to that moment where it's, what have I gotten myself into? And we can't take them all away.
Yeah.
But we can try to affect the biggest ones so that our student entrepreneurs who have these great ideas don't have quite as much pushback as they might otherwise.
Well, and I think it could be very frustrating if you go, okay, this seems like it would be a simple thing to do, but Bruce, doctor, I can't get past that, and to be able to have some of those roadblocks moved, at least the bump in the road isn't as big as they might otherwise be, because there are a lot of people out there that have great ideas, okay? But you got to be able to spend the time. We're coming up on 6 years here. It was just all audio to start with. I never envisioned doing video, because I have a face for radio. So I didn't want, you know what I mean? And I'm very comfortable behind the mic, but not in front of the camera. I don't even pay attention to the cameras anymore, But so I think it's a learning process. The one thing I will tell you is I hate to admit this in front of a professor, I was not a great high school or college student, okay? I learn and want to learn more now than I ever have in my life. That's why I love doing this, because I learn about what you're doing and what they're doing out there and so forth. What advice would you have, Lloyd, because you're right in the middle of this, for someone that has a great idea?
It's my biggest thing that I've learned from the startup over a year, actually, and being on the cusp of actually putting a product on store shelves, was to just keep moving forward, honestly.
Yeah.
Because
Perseverance, right?
Exactly. And I think consistency and perseverance really is the name of the game. Because, Bruce said it great. Innovation comes from anywhere, and great ideas come from anywhere also. And a lot of the biggest things is you will get a lot of things you never expected from people you never expected from. You get help from people you never heard of, or bodies that you never thought would even existed. It's really an interesting journey. But I know that even after all the challenges that we've had, even to just keep going, is that it will be worth it in the end, because it's what you want to do.
So when do you graduate?
June. I graduated.
Well, this year?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's jumping right back in again as soon as he's done, because he just got accepted to University of Washington's Master's in Entrepreneurship program.
No.
So he's going to continue his startup while pursuing the next stage.
Oh, well, good for you. Now, is that going to be over in Seattle, or is that?
Yeah, the plan is I'll be in Seattle running our Seattle operations, and my co-founder takes care of all of our Spokane operations.
Okay.
And so we can cover the whole state.
Yeah. And today, I may have said this before to you, but back in January, one of our tech guys told me about this new program he'd heard about that we ought to be looking at called Zoom.
Yeah.
Well, in March, I learned about it real quick, like everybody. And so we're all really pretty good in Zoom now and so forth. But you don't have to sit right next to the person to get things done, do you?
No.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, it's an easy back and forth if you do need that FaceTime.
Yeah.
You can hop back in no time at all if you need to.
Yeah. The problem I have sometimes is I've talked to people remotely and so forth, and then they come in with the mask, because we like to ask people to wear a mask in and out like you guys did and so forth. But I don't know who they are, because it covers enough of the face. But I'm going, are you Lloyd? Because I know you're coming in for an 11:30, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. But once in a while, I'm surprised that they look different in person than on a TV screen and so forth. So, well, that is exciting. You just got accepted.
Yeah, it's very exciting. The most thing I'm actually excited about is getting my product on shelves and getting sales. But I'm excited to continue education. I think, universities are really important for any economy, actually. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to just continue going down that path.
Yeah. Do you think that someday you might teach?
Yeah, actually, I'm hoping one day to get a PhD in industrial organizational behavior. Actually, what Bruce has in organizational behavior.
We've actually had a couple of conversations about that one as well, haven't we?
Yeah.
Did he tell you about the pitfalls of a PhD?
I don't want to hear them because I hear the whole.
Actually, I have. We had that talk early on.
Yeah.
It's not the 2.5-hour job you think it is.
Yeah. I watched some people go through that, and just even recently at Gonzaga and so forth, and then they have to defend their dissertation and all that, and I'm going, oh boy, I think I'm probably happy I didn't do that, but this is my continuing education. We all find it in different ways, okay?
Yeah, but one of my favorite things about Lloyd, and he's that student that you always hope you get a chance to work with. And fortunately, I've had a lot of students like that I've gotten to work with. But he has so much drive, so much vision for where he wants to go in life.
Good.
He dreams big, but he pursues it with the effort that requires.
Good.
And because of that, he's had all of these incredible experiences. I mean, not only is he launching this business, he controls global IP for that. He's competed in global pitch competitions down in Tampa with the CEO finals. He's met entrepreneurs all over the place, interned at a venture capital firm, all of these experiences. And so when he says
Priceless.
He wants to go after a PhD, he's so interested in learning, and he puts so much energy and effort into moving forward.
Yeah.
I have no doubt he'll get there.
That's great. I wish I had back at your age, and being young and so forth, the enthusiasm. I had other interests in the community and so forth in Southern California, and but now it's like, I hunger for new information, and that's exciting to see young people do that. So when do you take off, bud?
I'm in the Spokane area until pretty much I can get my first round of products on shelves.
Okay.
We build all our supply lines.
Okay,
And then I
great.
probably have to start preparing for the next stage of the company in Seattle.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in the Spokane area indefinitely anyway, though.
That was actually another one of the challenges that he had to work through as an entrepreneur, is that for his product, it takes a very unique spinning technology to actually create the filters
Okay.
that can be used in the tips.
And you found
there was,
someone in
what,
Spokane,
two,
or?
No, there was only like 2
There's
suppliers,
only 2
right? New York and Arizona, something like
It was
that?
in Boston,
Boston and
Arizona, in
Arizona,
the
yeah.
entire
Really?
country.
Oh,
it
boy.
was a challenge.
He's had to go through that search, build those relationships, set up those contracts.
And that's good in some ways and bad in the other, because you don't have the competition, so that works on the price issue and your costs and so forth. So who did you pick?
I can't even actually remember the name off the top of my head. They're a biotechnology company down in Phoenix.
Okay.
Because we were hoping for we could find someone in Spokane area.
Yeah.
And because that would just be the easiest. But then we realized this is so highly specialized that apparently,
Sometimes.
yeah, it's
But the
unfortunately.
fact is, you're based here.
Yeah.
You've got one other person at least here in Spokane, right? That is a benefit to our area. And you're not going to be that far away.
No.
You can get on a plane or drive over here in 6 hours or 5, or
Yeah.
we won't go any lower than that, because I know you wouldn't want to break the speed limit. But what I mean? But I mean, it's. I think it's great. I think it's great. Anything to add, gentlemen? That I haven't asked that.
Well, I mean, okay, that's really fast.
Yeah.
I know one of the biggest reasons actually why I wanted to launch new businesses and stuff was actually from like economic growth in local areas and like job creation.
Okay.
That was a really big reason actually why I wanted to do it, because as you create new jobs, more opportunities, it's better for everyone overall.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is that important to you?
I think that if you have a stable job, your life can be better in ways. I don't know. Aren't you an Iowa psychologist? What is the factors in your mind that have happened? But I just know like a stable job and better economic growth makes everyone more happy, and so it's just better for everyone in general.
It comes back to choices too. doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, that we have choices. I mean, look what we've all gone through across the country as well as here in terms of people that can't work or they work from home and what they're missing and so forth. And a lot of choices have been taken away, in terms of jobs and where to eat and things like that. And so you're going to add another choice for people.
Well, and let me tell you a story about Lloyd, because I remember the first time I met Lloyd was just over 2 years ago. So Lloyd has been a finalist in our startup competition
Right.
two consecutive years. But 2 years ago, when he made finals, it was with a completely different business.
Oh.
And that business was about educational development of
Okay.
of students and supporting that. And so from the moment I met Lloyd, a big part of his motivation is how he can make a difference to others. Now, he's got a different vehicle for that.
Yeah.
But what I love is that's not just Lloyd, that's this generation.
Yeah.
That a huge part of their passion is making a difference, not making a dollar.
Yeah.
And we try to connect the two into win-win relationships. I mean, if you're not making enough money to survive, you can't keep making that difference.
Right.
But
when you are more than surviving, you can make a lot of difference.
and so from the get-go, that's
Yeah.
been a huge part of his motivation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why we do a lot of the things that we do with Eastern and other places, is because it's more than just we haven't made a profit yet. Okay. We're at that point where we will probably this year. If I can make $1 profit, that'll be great. Okay. But that's not why I built this. I built this because I think there are good stories to tell, good things going on. Okay. When I really do retire in a few years, and I had said I would retire by now, but I haven't, obviously.
Yeah, but you're having too much fun.
I know, especially when it reaches that curve in the road that you see the straight ahead, and things are going to go well. I want to be around for the rest of that, okay? But the fact is, when I do retire, I want to leave something that's good for this area, and that employs people, but also brings good information, education to our community. We've done a lot of things to go out and tell people that the restaurants are open and things like that, and so forth. More than what can be done on the traditional news, whether they have a minute and a half story, 2-minute story is a long story on 18 minutes of news at night, and that's what's done locally. Is about 18 minutes of that 31 minutes is local news. The rest are ads and promos and jumps and everything else. Okay, we can spend the 5 minutes or the 15 minutes like we are now telling more of the story. Not everybody cares about that. I get that. But there'll be somebody that's inspired by what you've done at some point will probably come in contact with EWU as the future because, well, if he can do it, and they've got professors like that, why can't I dream a little bit too? And don't you feel good about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Lloyd, thank you for what you're doing. And you're obviously, being black and a minority and all that, you're setting an example that others can do it too. So you're covering several grounds that I think are good. Your leadership, of course, out at EWU and so forth. But we need more minority entrepreneurs out there, and because that will help that community and our total community.
Yes.
That sometimes feels out of it, not part of what's going on. So congratulations for stepping up. I love the fact that you're going after your master's and eventually your doctorate. Although I think you're crazy, but that's a whole nother issue. But congratulations for doing that. Would you keep in touch with us every so often from here or Seattle or wherever you are as you continue to show success?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. Thank you. And Bruce, as always, good to see you. We're
great
going
to
to
be
talk
here.
about some good, fun things that are going to come up here in the next few months and so forth as well. And thank you for watching the Pulse of Spokane. You too, if you've got an idea, a great place to contact would be out at Eastern and their entrepreneur program. And if it isn't something Bruce can do and their program out there with their students and so forth, he knows people, okay? And almost want to say that. He knows people, but you do. And we've got an entrepreneurial community here. I know Ryan out at North Idaho
Right.
College. When we first started this whole thing, and it was just on audio, just on the audio side, Ryan was one of the hosts of getting started and so forth. We did a program and so forth. There is interest and there is support in this community to start new businesses. And let's do it here in our area and employ our people. And we've got more people moving here too. We want all of them to have jobs and perhaps even more important, opportunity to select jobs of things that they like, okay? And I think that's part of our choice here in America, is that we can have some choices. It's been tough the last year or so, I get that, but I think we're headed in the right direction and good things will happen. So thanks for watching, everybody. The Pulse of Spokane. Have a good day.
Well, this is Bloomsday in Spokane. We got about 40 firefighters and their friends and family handing out 40,000 cups of water as the day goes by.
It's a very good opportunity to see the public and support them and help them out and cheer them on during Bloomsday.
It's one of the best things about Spokane is that we have these major events and the whole community comes together not just to participate, but to volunteer and show that they really care about our city and making our city look great.
This type of an event really is emblematic of Spokane because so many people get involved. We have 50,000 people probably running this race. Always has been a very huge event.
Right now we're at the corner of Broadway and Nettleton. It's the last water station before the finish, so people are pretty much dehydrated by the time they get to us. They really need our water.
The water stations are a vital part, especially on warm days like today. It's real important that we have the volunteers to help with that. Without the volunteers, Bloomsday wouldn't exist.
All up and down the course, there are people that are involved in this celebration. It really is a celebration of what Spokane's all about.
Welcome to Apex Plaza, Spokane's one-stop cannabis destination. Apex Cannabis features thousands of economy, value, and luxury cannabis products. Cannagear features hemp-based CBD products, glass, goods, and gear. Stop by 1325 North Division to experience the Apex difference.
This product has intoxicating effects and may be habit-forming. Marijuana can impair concentration, coordination, and judgment. Do not operate a vehicle or machinery under the influence of this drug. There may be health risk associated with the consumption of this product. For use only by adults 21 and older. Keep out of the reach of children.
When building a home or considering a major remodel, who are you going to choose? The Spokane Home Builders Association is an organization that works to elevate professionalism in the residential construction industry. We promote, protect, and educate for our community, building our community one home at a time. We are the Spokane Home Builders Association.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Pulse. We are where you are. Check us out on any of these other platforms as well as our website.